The cosmos was vast, endless, and indifferent. Stars flickered like distant candles. Planets spun silently in their orbits, and civilizations rose and fell without a whisper. Yet in the heart of that immense darkness, humanity had made its presence known. Not through brute force, not through conquest, but through something far more terrifying, their unpredictability. On the edge of the Orion expanse, where light bent around clusters of dying suns, the Galactic Council convened. Alien delegates of unimaginable forms and intellects had gathered in the council chamber of Zephora Prime, a planet carved from crystal and molten metals. They were used to order, to rules, to logic, but the human race had always been an anomaly. Elders whispered in low hums, their antennae twitching with unease. "They have sent another signal," hissed Varlock, the council's archivist. His eyes, like molten silver, darted nervously across the chamber. Direct communication from Earth. No intermediary. No explanation. The chamber went silent. Silence in the Galactic Council was rare. Silence meant fear. From the central console, a holographic projection of a human appeared. She was Amara Solon, a diplomat, young yet unshakably poised, with eyes that seemed to see every corner of the universe at once. Her voice carried through the chamber, clear and unwavering, though no sound had ever traveled that far before without the council's approval. "I greet you," Amara said. Her tone was calm, almost gentle, but every delegate felt a shiver run through their bones. "We come to propose a treaty." There was laughter, quiet, nervous, dismissive. Lyrak, a six-armed being of living liquid, coiled its form like smoke. "A treaty?" It gurgled. "With humans? Do you not understand their history? Their wars? Their chaos?" Amara's eyes did not waver. "Exactly. And it is precisely because of that chaos that we bring a word. Enough." The word hung in the chamber like a pulse of energy. The air, or what the aliens perceived as air, seemed to thicken. The word was simple, small even, yet it carried a weight that defied translation. Every delegate felt it deep within the core of their being. "Enough?" muttered Chiron, the elder of the Zalari, whose species communicated through colors and light. His form flickered nervously. "That is the human word. How could it hold power over all of us?" Amara smiled, not a smile of arrogance, but of certainty. "Because it is not just a word. It is the expression of our experience, our struggle, our defiance. We have survived floods that drowned continents, wars that burned cities, diseases that emptied generations. And still we endure, we rise. We speak enough." A hush fell over the council. Even the most logic-driven species felt it, the unquantifiable human will. For eons the council had relied on reason, treaties, and deterrence. But humans did not bow to reason. They did not calculate only what was convenient. Their strength lay in emotion, in spirit, in something beyond science. Varlock, usually unshakable, leaned closer to the projection. "How can one species convey such absolute certainty in one word? It defies probability." Amara's gaze swept across the chamber, scanning the faces or forms of every delegate. "We are not asking for your obedience nor your allegiance. We are asking for your acknowledgement. That humanity will no longer be underestimated, that when we say a word, you listen." And then, as if on cue, the lights of the council chamber dimmed and stars outside Zephora Prime seemed to blink faster. A tremor, invisible but undeniable, pulsed through the planet. Every crystal in the floor resonated. Every metal wall vibrated. The word enough had become more than sound. It had become a declaration, a wave of intent that stretched across light years. The council did not respond immediately. No species moved, no antennas twitched, no lights shifted. But inside, a storm was forming. They were facing a force that could not be quantified, reasoned, or contained, and that, more than anything, terrified them. In the quiet that followed, Amara lowered her head slightly, almost imperceptibly. "This is only the beginning," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. And in that moment, somewhere in the infinite expanse, humanity smiled, not because they had won, but because the universe had finally noticed. Somewhere deep within the chamber, the Zalari elder's colors flickered faster. Lyrak's form trembled. Varlock's silver eyes widened in disbelief. And the Galactic Council, despite all its power, all its knowledge, all its experience, understood something primal and undeniable. Humanity was no longer just another species. Humanity had awakened, and with one word the galaxy had been reminded that sometimes the simplest expressions carried the most terrifying strength. Long after Amara Solon's image faded, the Galactic Council remained frozen. No one spoke, yet the silence screamed louder than any words could. The air shimmered faintly as if reality itself hesitated to move forward. Finally, High Chancellor Arendor, a being of translucent crystal and deep wisdom, rose from his pedestal. His form pulsed with dull light, betraying unease. "Record the transmission," he said slowly. "Analyze every frequency, every nuance of that human word." The technicians obeyed, their many limbs tapping consoles with nervous precision. Yet the recordings revealed something impossible. The word enough was not just sound, it carried a resonance, a pulse embedded with traces of quantum interference, as if human emotion had bled into the signal. "It wasn't encoded," murmured Varlock, scanning through the data streams. "It wasn't even transmitted through normal channels. It just appeared, like it forced its way through the quantum veil." A murmur rippled through the council. Some called it impossible. Others whispered it was dangerous. All felt uneasy. "They've done something," hissed Lyrak, his liquid body trembling like ripples across a pond. "This is not normal diplomacy. This is intrusion. No species should have that kind of reach." But Chancellor Arendor raised a trembling limb. "No," he said softly. "It is not intrusion. It is intention." The council fell silent again. That word hung in the air, heavy and fearful. Intention. Outside, Zephora Prime's twin suns dipped beneath the crystal horizon, casting the chamber in deep violet. Shadows stretched across the gleaming floor, and the stars beyond the glass dome glittered coldly. Somewhere among them, Earth waited, small, defiant, impossibly human. Meanwhile, in a forgotten corner of the Milky Way, that same woman, Amara Solon, stood before a panoramic window aboard the vessel Sol Rising. The Earth glowed behind her like a fragile jewel in the dark. Her reflection stared back. Tired eyes, firm jaw, shoulders squared. She wasn't a soldier, yet she had been chosen to deliver that single word. A word that wasn't just a message, it was a promise. Behind her, the ship's AI spoke softly. "Ambassador, your transmission has reached every council relay. All members received it simultaneously." Amara exhaled slowly. "And their response?" "None yet, but council fleet activity has increased by 12%. Scans suggest heightened alert protocols." She smiled faintly. "Of course. Fear always moves faster than reason." Her hand touched the glass. Beyond, the stars seemed infinite, but she could almost feel the eyes of the galaxy turning toward humanity, watching, calculating, afraid. "Let them prepare," she whispered. "Let them think we are reckless. That's how we survive." Back on Zephora Prime, the council debated deep into the luminous night. "They are a young species," argued Chiron, the Zellari elder. His light pulsed in anxious patterns. "But they have defied extinction again and again. What they lack in order, they possess in resolve. You cannot calculate resolve." "That is precisely why they are dangerous," countered Varlock. "They act without logic. Their strength is chaos. Their unity is fragile. And yet," he hesitated, his metallic voice trembling, "somehow that fragility is their power." A cold realization began to spread among them. The word humanity had spoken was not a threat. It was something far more terrifying, a statement of self-control. Enough. Enough destruction. Enough submission. Enough silence. For the first time in centuries, the council found itself questioning its own authority. By dawnlight, Arendor called the chamber to order. His crystalline form shimmered with determination. "We will send an envoy to Earth. If they wish to be acknowledged, they will speak under our protocols. We must know the truth of their intent." Whispers filled the air. It had been over 500 years since the council last approached a species directly. To do so now was unprecedented. "Who will go?" Lyrak asked, his form rippling uneasily. Arendor turned, light flickering across his chest. "You, Lyrak, and you, Varlock. You understand fear better than most. Perhaps you will recognize what lies behind theirs." Lyrak's form quivered. "And if they refuse us?" Arendor paused. His glow dimmed slightly. "Then we will have our answer." 2 weeks later, as the envoy ship slipped into Sol space, humanity watched them come. Across Earth's cities, skies filled with faint glimmers, visitors cloaked in silver light. In the command center of the Sol Rising, Amara stood silently. "They came sooner than I expected," she murmured. "Do we respond?" asked the AI. Amara's lips curved into a calm, knowing smile. "Yes," she said, "but not with weapons." She turned toward the hollow table and placed her hand upon it. A soft hum filled the room. Every human ship, station, and outpost across the system received the same encoded transmission. Simple, elegant, powerful. Prepare the beacon. The Council envoy descended slowly through the atmosphere of Earth. Their ships shimmered like liquid silver, reflecting oceans and continents in impossible patterns. Below, humanity watched from cities, forests, and mountains, their eyes wide with cautious curiosity, but not fear. On the surface, Amara Solon awaited them, standing in a plain of steel and glass on the outskirts of what humans called New Alexandria. Behind her, the Earth pulsed with soft energy, unseen by the alien senses but palpable in the hearts of those who had built it. As the envoy landed, the ground trembled faintly. It was not the weight of the ships that caused it, but the subtle resonance of human will, calm, steady, and impossibly strong. Arendor, Lyrak, and Varlock stepped from the lead vessel. They expected chaos, conflict, a species panicked by visitors from the stars. Instead, they were met with order. Humans in ranks, civilians calm, instruments ready. The sight unsettled them. Amara's voice cut through the tension, clear and unhurried. "Welcome to Earth." Varlock's metallic eyes glinted with confusion. You're not running, not hiding, not panicking." Amara inclined her head slightly. "Humans survive because we choose to act, not react, and because we understand one truth. The universe will never respect those who tremble before it." Lyrak's form rippled nervously. "We came to assess, to measure your capabilities. And yet," his voice faltered, "your control, it is unnatural." "Control?" Amara asked softly. "No, it is focus, resilience, and purpose." She gestured behind her. "Come, see for yourself." The council delegates followed reluctantly. They passed rows of humans, young and old, each operating devices, instruments, and strange machines they could not comprehend. At the center of the compound stood a massive structure, a crystalline tower that pulsed with quiet energy. It was called the beacon. "This is what your word enough prepared you for?" Arendor's voice trembled, betraying both awe and fear. Amara's hand hovered above the beacon's core. "It is the first step. Humanity has survived extinction, war, plague, and cosmic storms. But we did not endure by hiding. We endured by preparing, by rising, by creating something the universe could not ignore." Varlock's eyes narrowed. "What is its function?" "The beacon awakens potential," Amara said simply. "It is not a weapon in the conventional sense. It is a statement, a signal to the galaxy that humanity is no longer to be underestimated, that we are prepared for any trial." Arendor's crystalline form shimmered violently. "And if the Council views it as a threat?" Amara's gaze hardened. "Then we will speak another word, one they cannot ignore. But I hope it does not come to that." She activated the beacon. A soft hum spread across the plains, growing into a resonant tone that seemed to touch the very fabric of reality. The council delegates felt it deep within themselves, a vibration that transcended sound, space, and thought. It was the echo of human determination made manifest. Lyrak writhed. This is impossible. Your species should not have access to this kind of energy." "Perhaps," Amara replied. "But humans have always found a way. When all seems lost, we invent, we adapt, we endure. That is why one word from us can make an entire council tremble, because it carries every battle, every failure, every triumph humanity has ever endured." Arendor looked at Amara, his crystal facets flickering. "And you intend to use this power?" "How?" "To survive," she said simply. "To protect our home, and to remind the galaxy that we exist not as pawns, not as curiosities, but as equals, as beings who will shape our own destiny." The beacon pulsed brighter, and for the first time the council understood. This was not arrogance. It was clarity. Humanity had learned to combine intelligence with heart, technology with courage, purpose with unpredictability. Varlock's metallic frame shivered. You are unlike any species we have encountered." Amara stepped closer to the beacon. "And that is why we speak words that resonate through the universe." Enough was the first. The next will be louder, and by then, the galaxy will understand the cost of underestimating humanity. Outside, the wind carried the hum of the beacon across the continents. Birds paused mid-flight. Oceans rippled, and even the stars seemed to flicker in acknowledgement. For the first time, humans and aliens alike felt a moment of connection, Not through dominance, not through diplomacy, but through sheer presence and intent. The council envoy had come to measure humanity. Instead, they had encountered something far more unsettling: certainty. Humanity was not a species to be bargained with, reasoned with, or predicted. Humanity was a force, a storm wrapped in flesh and purpose. And as Amara Solon watched the aliens absorb the scope of the beacon, she smiled faintly. The galaxy was beginning to understand that one word had only scratched the surface of what humanity could achieve. The council convened again, this time in emergency session. Every chamber, every crystal, every vessel of Zephora Prime thrummed with unease. For the first time in millennia, the delegates questioned the very foundations of their authority. Arendor's translucent facets flickered rapidly as he addressed the assembly. The humans have activated the beacon. Its energy signature transcends all known physics. Their word, enough, was merely the beginning. What they have created now threatens not just our perception of power, but the assumptions upon which we govern. Kieran, the Zellari elder, his colors swirling like storm clouds, hissed through pulses of light. They are ungovernable. They cannot be predicted. They cannot be reasoned with because they act from principles no species has yet understood. Every rule we know, every precaution, it falters before them. Lyrac's liquid form quivered. They are young, fragile, and yet... He paused, the ripple of his form betraying a rare uncertainty. They have already become a threat to all of us without firing a weapon. Varlock, seated rigidly on his crystalline chair, finally spoke. Threat? No, this is more than a threat. It is a challenge. They have reminded the galaxy that even the most disciplined council can tremble before a single word, a single purpose. Whispers spread among the delegates. Some recoiled. Others calculated quietly, their forms dimming with indecision. For centuries, the council had relied on intellect, diplomacy, and deterrence to maintain order. Now they faced a species that defied those instruments. Arendor's light dimmed as he considered the enormity of the situation. We have underestimated humanity, and the consequences may already be unfolding. We must act carefully, decisively, and above all united. A murmur of dissent spread. Unity, long assumed, was fragile. Some delegates suggested immediate containment. Others, cautious, urged negotiation. And in the corner, silent yet unnerving, a small faction whispered about preemptive measures. Measures that, if enacted, could ignite a war the galaxy had never known. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Amara Solon observed the council's unease through the beacon's subtle monitoring systems. She knew their fear, and she knew its source. Humanity was not an empire, not a conqueror, not a calculator of probabilities. Humanity was a species of defiance, resilience, and resolve, and no matter how much the council probed, they could not predict it. Amara turned to her team. They are reacting, she said, her voice calm but firm. The council believes they can still control this. They cannot, and if they attempt force, they will learn something they have never encountered before. Her aide, a young strategist named Joran Vale, asked hesitantly, Do you mean the beacon? Amara shook her head. Not yet. The beacon is a statement, a warning. What I mean is humanity itself, our unity, our unpredictability, our will. That is the true power. On Zephora Prime, the council debated whether to send a fleet to investigate, to enforce compliance, or to preemptively neutralize the beacon. Arendor hesitated, sensing the gravity of his decision. Humanity was not just another species, they were something else entirely. Chiron's light pulsed violently. We risk everything by hesitating. They will continue to rise, and if they perceive weakness, they will seize it. And yet, Varlock countered, his silver eyes narrowing, to strike now would be to confirm their fears about us. They would see the council as tyrants. And if humans fight back, do any of us truly survive? Lyrac writhed, unable to contain the tension in his form. Then what do you propose? Observation? Diplomacy? Or do we wait for humanity to declare war? Arendor stood, his facets trembling with weighty thought. We do not yet know the full scope of their abilities. We cannot measure them with force alone, but we can observe. We can test. We can learn. And above all, we must prepare. Humanity is no ordinary species. They are a storm, and storms cannot be contained by rules. Far across the stars, the humans of Earth continued their preparations in quiet harmony. Scientists, engineers, and leaders worked in unison. Children played under skies lit faintly by the beacon's hum. Soldiers trained with discipline yet without fear. The signal had been received and its echo spread in subtle ways, shaping a planet that refused to tremble before even the oldest councils of the galaxy. Amara stood before the beacon once more, her reflection sharp against the crystalline core. "They will test us," she murmured, "and we will show them that humanity is not a species to be measured or contained. We are a force to be respected. One word, one action, one life at a time. That is our truth." The Galactic Council had waited long enough. Months of deliberation, observation, and whispered uncertainty had led to a single decision. Humanity would be tested, not with diplomacy, not with words, but with a trial meant to measure their resolve, their ingenuity, and their capacity to endure. In orbit above Earth, a fleet of council vessels gathered silently. Ships of impossible shapes, some flowing like liquid crystal, others rigid and angular, positioned themselves around the planet. Their sensors scanned oceans, forests, and cities, seeking weaknesses, flaws, vulnerabilities. Every weapon system was primed, every contingency calculated. On Earth, humans knew the test was coming, though they did not yet know its form. The beacon pulsed steadily, its quiet hum reaching deep into every human mind. Its resonance was subtle, a shared awareness, and it carried one simple command: prepare. Amara Solon stood before a global assembly of leaders, scientists, and strategists. "They believe they can measure us," she said. Her voice was calm, commanding attention without force. "They believe they can force fear into us. But humanity does not tremble before the unknown. We adapt. We endure, we rise. And we will show them what that means." Joranvale, her aide, nodded sharply. "They will attempt to strike then." Amara shook her head. "Not yet. They will test our ability to respond. They will probe, push, challenge. That is how the galaxy perceives strength." As the Council fleet approached, strange anomalies began to ripple across Earth's atmosphere. Sensors detected nothing conventional: gravitational fluctuations, subtle energy pulses, disruptions in electromagnetic fields. Scientists were puzzled, and yet humans adapted with uncanny speed. Fleets of ships, drones, and satellites, human creations, shifted into defensive formations. Communications, transportation, and energy networks began rerouting automatically, anticipating disruptions before they fully manifested. It was not instinct alone. It was experience, calculation, and will working as one. Arendor, observing remotely through advanced sensors, felt a strange unease. "They respond too quickly," he said to his advisors. "Too perfectly. No species could organize so efficiently in such moments of chaos." "How?" Chiron's colors pulsed rapidly. "It is not just technology. It is spirit. It is intent. They are shaping their response with understanding of consequence, but also with courage, something no council protocol can quantify." The first test came in the form of an asteroid, small but artificially guided, glinting in the sunlight like a silver dagger. The council fleet nudged it toward Earth's atmosphere, expecting panic, confusion, and the chaos that always followed such threats in lesser species. But on Earth, humans were ready. The beacon's energy intensified, weaving through satellites and orbital defense systems. Kinetic interceptors launched with precision that made even the Council's AI calculations look crude. The asteroid was intercepted, broken into harmless fragments, and its trajectory neutralized, all within minutes. Varlock's metallic eyes widened. They survived, not by luck, by design, by will. "Do you see now?" Amara said softly, standing before the beacon, her hand resting on its crystalline surface. "We endure because we are more than calculations, more than rules. We endure because we understand consequence, fear, and hope, and we use all three to rise." A second test followed. A sudden surge of energy from the Council fleet, aimed to disrupt communications and power grids. Yet humans adapted instantly. Autonomous energy rerouting, shields and failsafes engaged. Cities flickered briefly, but the systems never faltered. For every challenge, humanity responded faster than the Council could predict. Chiron's light pulsed in confusion and awe. They anticipate everything. It is as if they can see not just the present, but the intent behind the action. Amara smiled faintly. "That is because we remember. Every hardship, every loss, every victory, it teaches us. And when one species has survived millennia of trials, no force, no fleet, no council can make them tremble." By the time the Council fleet withdrew, they were silent, shaken. The test had succeeded only in proving a terrifying truth. Humanity could not be measured. Humanity could not be contained. Humanity could not be subdued by the oldest and most formidable council in the galaxy. And on Earth, Amara Solon gazed at the night sky, the beacon glowing softly behind her. Humanity had passed its first true test, not by weapons, not by numbers, but by resilience, ingenuity, and spirit. She whispered, more to herself than anyone else, "We are ready, and the galaxy will learn, one word at a time, that humanity does not kneel." The aftermath of the test left the Galactic Council in chaos. For the first time in history, doubt, fear, and disbelief replaced their customary certainty. The archives of Zephora Prime, usually filled with orderly data and cold logic, now vibrated with fragmented discussions of humanity's capabilities. Arendor's facets dimmed as he rose to speak before the assembly. "We have witnessed what no species has ever endured, the human's ability to adapt, to overcome, to survive without fear, without hesitation, without surrender." A wave of murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some delegates recoiled in disbelief. Others leaned forward, their forms quivering with curiosity and a dawning terror. Kieran's swirling colors flashed violently. "They are not ordinary. They are not predictable. Even their calm is a weapon. Their unity, their will. It is beyond calculation. No protocols, no deterrents, no fleet formations will contain them." Varlock leaned forward, his silver eyes narrowing. "And yet we must respond. If we do not act, what message do we send? That one species, untested, unmeasured, can rise above the Council itself?" Arendor's glow faltered. Perhaps that is exactly the lesson they wish to teach." Lyrac's form writhed, ripples of unease radiating through him. "They tested us, and passed, not by force, but by principle, by spirit, by will. They have shown us something we cannot ignore, and something we cannot match." Across the chamber, smaller factions whispered of alliances, of political maneuvers, of covert strikes to regain control. But the older, wiser delegates understood a truth that chilled them. Humans did not fight by the rules the galaxy knew. Humans were an equation no one could solve, a storm no one could calm. Chiron's light pulsed erratically. Do we dare underestimate them again? Every species has its boundaries, its limits. Yet humans, they do not bend, they do not break. They rise every time, every challenge, every loss, and we are not prepared for the consequences of their persistence. Varlock's jaw tightened. It is not just persistence. It is intention. That word they spoke, enough, it was not a command. It was a declaration, and we trembled. They made us tremble, and now they have proven that Tremble was no accident. It was forethought. It was strategy. It was humanity itself. The Council fell into silence, uncharacteristic and profound. For centuries they had wielded fear as a tool. They had controlled, calculated, and commanded. And yet, the humans had turned that paradigm upside down. One word, one will, one species, and the galaxy itself shivered in response. Arendor finally spoke again, his voice lower, almost reverent. "We must consider not how to contain them, but how to coexist, because every attempt to dominate will fail. Every threat will only reveal our own vulnerabilities, and every failure will strengthen them." Whispers spread through the chamber. Some delegates recoiled at the idea. Coexistence? They hissed. With humans, they are unpredictable, dangerous, ungovernable. Chiron's colors pulsed in agreement, but with a cautious undertone. Dangerous. Yes, but also instructive. Perhaps this species can teach us as much as we fear. Perhaps their resilience is a mirror we have never wanted to look into. Meanwhile, across the void, Earth remained calm. The beacon pulsed steadily, a quiet, reassuring rhythm that resonated with every human mind. Cities flourished. Technology advanced. Children played under skies untouched by fear. Humanity was not gloating, not preparing to dominate. They were merely being themselves, alive, determined, and unyielding. Amara Solon stood atop the beacon's crystalline spire, gazing at the stars. Her reflection shimmered against the glowing core. "They are afraid," she murmured almost to herself. "They fear what they cannot control, what they cannot predict, what they cannot contain. And that is why we will rise, not with force but with spirit, not with weapons but with will." The galaxy will learn that one word from humanity carries more weight than all the fleets it can muster. Joran Vale approached quietly. Do you think they will come back? Amara shook her head slightly, a calm certainty in her eyes. They will. And when they do, they will see what we already know. Humanity cannot be broken. Humanity cannot be subdued. Humanity is inevitable. The Council's tremors spread beyond the chamber. Across the stars, every race that had ever relied on fear and logic began to whisper of the humans who had defied all expectation. Rumors spread of a word that could shake empires, of a species that could survive anything, and of a planet whose people would not kneel. And somewhere, deep in the heart of the galaxy, the oldest of the Council's archives recorded a single, undeniable truth. Humanity had changed the rules of the universe. One word had made them tremble, and now humanity's rise could no longer be ignored. The galaxy had changed. No star system, no council chamber, no fleet commander could claim ignorance of humanity's presence. Word of their resilience, their ingenuity, and their unwavering will had spread faster than any ship or transmission. One word enough had shaken empires. Now humanity's actions would reshape the cosmos itself. On Earth, Amara Solon stood atop the beacon, her eyes scanning the night sky. The Council fleet still lingered at the edges of Sol space, silent, tense, uncertain. This time it was not a test. This time it was a reckoning of understanding. She activated the beacon fully. Its crystalline core expanded in luminous waves, sending a message across the stars. Not just a signal, but a demonstration of humanity's spirit. It was visible from distant worlds as a pillar of light, breathtaking in its magnitude and impossible to ignore. From Zyphora Prime, the delegates of the Council watched in awe. Their ships detected the energy, their sensors struggled to interpret it, and their hearts, if their species had hearts, shivered at its resonance. Every crystal facet, every liquid ripple, every pulse of light seemed to vibrate in tandem with the human's intent. Arendor's voice, usually measured, trembled. They are not wielding this as a weapon. They are declaring themselves, not to conquer but to exist, fully, fearlessly, without compromise. Chiron's colors danced violently, and yet, the power they wield, we cannot quantify. It is a force beyond control, not just technology or intellect, but will, purpose, unity. Varlok's metallic form leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. Do you see it? Do you finally see what we failed to understand? One word from humanity, enough, was a declaration of spirit. And now, this light is proof that they are not to be underestimated. Not ever. Back on Earth, Amara turned to Joran Vale standing beside her. They will remember this, she said softly. Not because we threatened them, not because we attacked them, but because we showed them the truth of humanity. Joran's eyes widened. And what truth is that? Amara's gaze swept across the stars. That humanity does not bow. That humanity endures. That one species, fragile yet resilient, can rise above fear, above logic, above expectation, and still remain human. The beacon's pulses intensified, synchronized with the heartbeat of every human across the planet. Cities, oceans, forests, and mountains seemed to respond. It was as if Earth itself had joined in the declaration. The light stretched across space, reaching distant systems, brushing against alien worlds. Leaving no doubt, humanity had arrived not as a threat, not as a conqueror, but as a force to be reckoned with. For the first time, the Council understood the full impact of their miscalculation. Their fleets, their threats, their calculations, their plans, all were irrelevant. Humanity's strength was not in numbers or weapons. It was in resilience, unity, and the unbreakable certainty of their will. Lirek's liquid form rippled, almost quivering. They do not fear us. They do not seek to dominate. Yet we feel fear and awe, and something deeper. Respect, perhaps, or humility. Arendor's facets pulsed with quiet resignation. We have been reminded of a truth the galaxy has long ignored. Power alone does not define strength. Spirit does, will does, and humanity has both in abundance. And then, a soft, almost imperceptible transmission reached the Council vessels. Not a threat, not a command, not even a word. Yet it carried meaning, a presence so profound that it resonated within every delegate. It was humanity, speaking without aggression, without compromise, without hesitation. Their intent clear. We exist, we endure. We rise. In that moment, the Council understood that the universe had shifted. One word enough had sparked a revelation, but it was the embodiment of humanity's will, their unity, and their courage that had reshaped the galaxy forever. From the shadows of distant stars to the chambers of Zephora Prime, the truth echoed. Humanity was not just another species. Humanity was an unstoppable force of nature. One word had made the Council tremble. Now their presence would make the entire galaxy pause, reflect, and, inevitably, adapt. On Earth, Amara watched the stars fade into dawn. The beacon dimmed softly, its message delivered, its purpose fulfilled. She turned to Joran. "We've begun something today," she said. "Not just for Earth, not just for humans, but for the galaxy." One word started it, and many more will follow. Above, the first light of day kissed the continents, oceans, and mountains. Humanity had spoken. Humanity had risen. And in the vast, endless universe, one species had reminded all others of the most profound truth. Spirit, will, and courage could never be ignored. The galaxy trembled once. But from now on it would watch, listen, and learn.